Well, Kpmg has released its Africa Banking Industry Customer Satisfaction Survey. The report revealed that customers are still unsatisfied about financial stability, but what they primarily want from their banks is enhanced high-quality service, more innovation and greater convenience. Tanja Ferreira is Head of Customer Solutions at Kpmg Management Consulting and joins us now. Thank you so much, Tanya, for your time today. Well, as you heard during Newsnight, we're chatting to Jeremy and I asked them what they thought of their bank on a scale of 1 to 10. It was between anger and frustration. Yeah. So how do you conduct the survey, first of all?
So what we did is we, in each of the markets, the 18 countries where we conducted the survey, we had teams on the ground and asking customers what they thought of the customers, the satisfaction of their levels of service at their banks.
Okay, and overall, was it good? Was it bad?
It's okay. It's not. I wouldn't say it's shocking, but there's definitely room for improvement. Okay. So I think that was the one thing that really stood out, was that there's no bank on the continent that we can say is absolutely wow and a standout bank. Yeah. Across all levels, all dimensions that we looked at. All
right. So let's look at the dimensions then. So ultimately, what is customer satisfaction? What are the elements that you look at?
So what we looked at in this survey covered 6 key elements. It was looking at brand and brand presence. It was looking at customer care, customer service, products and service, the kind of range of products that they have, convenience and accessibility, which is very important, around how do they access the banking services. Executional excellence, so that talks to speed and quality, so those two are very important. And finally, value for money. Okay. So customers don't want to feel like they're paying too much for what they're getting.
And are our customers a lot more savvy now around fees and what they're paying for and what they're willing to pay a little bit extra for and that kind of thing?
Yeah, so what we found is that customers are not that price sensitive. So it's more about service. Whilst they will complain about what the price that they pay and fees, so they definitely do complain about it. It's more about service. And that's what they're looking for, is that speed and convenience and quality of service.
Let's talk a little bit about complaints. Are they happy with the way that banks deal with complaints when the customer actually complains?
So in general, what we found is that, it comes back to the speed of dealing with the complaints. So in general, it takes too long. Okay. To get complaints resolved, and that was a general finding across the continent.
And how do they feel about products and the way that staff relates to them and explain that kind of thing?
So again, there's some that are getting it right, and others that aren't. So in some banks, they find it's easier, they understand the products and the service offerings a lot better, and in others they're too complicated. Okay. So I guess if we think of where they should go, it's simplify. Yeah. Because especially across the continent where we're trying to, most governments are trying to focus on financial inclusion and in getting more people into the banking sphere. Yes. It's really around education and explaining what they can offer and getting rid of that sort of mistrust, I guess.
And I see innovation was something that customers want from their banks. What do you think has driven that drive towards more innovation?
So I think it's also around, even though what we found across the continent that customers are not that digitally savvy yet, they are active on social media. They are more up to date with what's out there and what is offered. So I think that's what drives some of that innovation, is they're looking for things to happen quickly and differently, and different models, and not necessarily the traditional models. Although in the survey at the moment across the continent, and this differs in South Africa, we found that branches are still seen as the primary channel. And they still want that access, and mainly for advice purposes. They want to talk to somebody. In South Africa, that's changed a little. It's the branch is not the primary channel.
You want to stay as far away from the branch as possible. Yes. But I suppose there's a lesson in there in the countries where branches are still king about for the banks to actually ensure that their frontline staff know how to deal with customers.
Absolutely, and that's really what's key, is how, and this is what makes this whole area of customer satisfaction and experience so complex to deal with, because it's not only about how your frontline staff interact with the customer, which you want to be done in a professional, courteous manner, but it's also that they shouldn't make promises that they can't keep. So it's about, you know, if I am a frontline staff member and I need to make a promise about getting a query resolved, I want to make sure that the guys that are going to deal with it can do it in the time that I've promised that they can. So it's quite an intricate web of lots of different areas.
We'll leave it there.
Thank you very much
for your time today. Tanja Ferreira is Head of Customer Solutions at Kpmg Management Consulting. Now, President Jacob Zuma